I try to think just like Cherish. Just like that song from the 1960s. Cherish is the word I use to describe. I just try to think about the word. Just enough sound, just enough to tell you just enough sound. That's the right word. Cherish is the word. And I keep trying to think about what's just the right perfect name for a different political party, a new political party. The sort of party that expresses the kind of values that we need to have that are absent in politics, which is what we need this new party to try to bring into the political process. And I try to think, well, what kind of name would I see if I saw there was a new political party? What kind of name would intrigue me and interest me to think, that's an interesting name. That sounds intriguing. I want to check out their website and see what they're really all about, because maybe they're not completely full of shit. Maybe. As I first heard of the Natural Law Party in 1996, during the presidential election of 1996, I saw there was a third party called the Natural Law Party. I said, well, that sounds a little, let's see, maybe it's interesting, let's see what this is all about. Now, at that time, I had never heard of John Locke or John Stuart Mill. I get those two confused. But one of them came up, I think it was John Locke, came up with the concept. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Locke came up with the concept of natural law. So it had to do with natural law. So just the basic idea that there are certain basic concepts that we understand. In other words, they're talking about like a universal type of natural morality. People will say, oh, well, the only reason that it's because murder is illegal. That's the only reason that we don't go around murdering people every day. And there are people who take that attitude. But there are other people who say, that's bullshit, because we don't need to have a law saying it's wrong to kill to make us aware of the concept that this is a bad thing to be doing. There's something innate in us that knows naturally that certain basic things, that there are certain basic differences between right and wrong that don't depend on human laws, written laws, to make that us aware of the difference between right and wrong. There is such a thing as right and wrong. There is an innate knowing of right and wrong, which most animals do. Actually, you look at the behaviors of most animals, aside from, and sometimes even including, their activities in which they have to eat to survive. Most animals have a moral notions, and this is why you have pets, you have dogs and cats, and you expect certain types of what you call good behavior from your dogs, your cats, your rabbits, your hamsters, all the animals that you keep. You always say, oh, you're a good boy today because you didn't do this, you're a bad boy because, but you expect these animals to know the difference, even if most of them probably don't explicitly understand the language that we are speaking to them. They mostly look at us and try to go by tone of voice, at least as far as I can tell, although some of them do. Some of them do understand English language, I think. But we expect this from the animals, and supposedly the animals are lesser beings and lesser intelligence than us, and yet we depend on the notion that the animals have some kind of innate moral compass. So anyhow, this is the basis of the notion of natural law, which was that was interesting to hear that, because when I first heard natural law, I heard the word law, and it made me think of, like lawyers and law schools and politicians creating legislation, and that's not really what it was referring to. It was referring to this, I think it was John Locke, with this natural law philosophy. It was a philosophical. And anyhow, there was that party, and I voted for them in 1996 and in 2000. It turns out that party was founded by the Maharishi, Sexy Sadie, and he died a few years ago. And at this point, the party is pretty inactive. It's just about deceased, but there's still some people that identify as natural law party. There's still maybe one or two states where, at least in some district, they still manage to get on the ballot. Anyhow, even before that, and part of what made me interested in the natural law party when I heard about it, was I had already thought of wanting to start a new political party, because I don't particularly trust the Democrats. I really don't. And I don't trust the Republicans whatsoever. To me, they're actually two sides of the same coin, and I really see the Democrats as just a watered-down version of the Republicans, so it's really just a reflection of the same thing. It's like the sun and the moon. The moonlight is just a reflection of sunlight. So the softer light from the Democrats is just a reflection of the nuclear furnace from the Republicans. And they get along very well in their own little charade of Tweedledum and Tweedledee. I mean, if I had to at gunpoint choose to register as one or the other, I would most likely register as a Democrat, but I wouldn't be happy about it. So, I had actually thought of a party called the Ameritory Party, and then I thought of, well, maybe cut off the A, because Ameritory was like America plus Tory. So, in other words, going back to the pre-revolution days, or the revolution days too, the Tories were the loyalists, the people that were not in favor of an armed rebellion against England. And in fact, the majority of the American colonists, allegedly, according to statistics of somebody that compiled information of who was supporting the revolution and who was supporting the king, the majority of American colonists actually were loyalists and were not in support of the armed rebellion, the revolution. And I was looking back and thinking, if I were alive in the 1770s, would I have really wanted to join this crazy, violent rebellion against the king? I might have, if I had seen certain types of abuses that supposedly took place. More likely, I would have been angered and annoyed at whatever actions were taken by police or British soldiers on American soil that like unlawful, all the things that the Constitution was supposedly designed to address and to remedy, the things like search, being able to search people's houses without a search warrant, being able to take people at any time, being able to accuse people without, throw people in jail without making an accusation of a crime, or without access to a lawyer, and all those things that the Constitution was supposed to fix. Maybe if I had been alive then, I would have thought these grievances are so deep that in fact we have no choice, but we must fight a revolution against the King of England so that we can put an end to these abuses. Maybe, I don't know, but I have the feeling that I really wouldn't. just as I'm not going to join Occupy Wall Street, especially if they turn violent and start, or the Tea Party folks start joining Occupy Wall Street and start bringing their guns and shouting about their Second Amendment rights and going around bearing arms everywhere and going around shooting people like the guy in Norway. I wouldn't want to be part of that. I wouldn't want to side with that and say I'm supporting this. So that's how I came up with the idea of American Tory. I was thinking of an American Tory party, and then I stuck it together as one word, Ameritory. And then by dropping the A off, came up with Meritory, which is a whole another word that expresses what I really wanted to express. Meritory, that it should be based, that politics and who's a candidate, who gets elected to office, should be based not on who's got the most money, not on who most people think is, oh, he's so handsome, or he kissed my baby, but who actually has something of worth to contribute, something of merit. So that's the idea of Meritory, and I was thinking for several years of the Meritory Party, but see, even so, it somehow doesn't quite grab me the way I want it. What I really want when I think about starting a political party or having a new political party, what it is I really want is I want to end the fucking bullshit. That's what it really comes down to. That what we have as politics and as the news media and everything going on that run all the cogs of this society, it's fucking goddamn bullshit. That's all it comes down to. And so it just struck me that what I really ought, what the party, no matter what other creative names I might manage to come up with, what I really intend the party to be is the anti-bullshit party. That's all. The anti-bullshit party. And maybe that's too direct. And it's certainly, they wouldn't even print the name. They wouldn't even print that name in the newspapers. We can't print the name anti-bullshit party. We'll have to call it the anti-B-word party. All this B word and N word and S word and R word and C word and L word and this word and that word. Because we're so full of bullshit in this society that we can't even say the words that we are meaning. We have this ridiculous notion that if you say certain words, certain bad, evil words, the bowels of hell are going to open up and swallow us up, and the universe will implode, because the great word of evil, the great mystical ancient word of evil has been spoken, and now this is the apocalypse, because somebody said the S word, somebody said shit, oh my fucking God, somebody said the F word, somebody said the N word, this word, that word. We have to have the Sesame Street attitude of, what's the word today? Oh, today the letter of today is the N, is N. What words start with N? Well, we can't say the words that start with N because they're so terrible that we can only refer to them by the first letter. So that's what would happen if you call the party the anti-bullshit party. This is what they'll do. They'll start calling it the anti-B. I swear to you, I'm sure there will be plenty of people or news organizations, newspapers, TV news, magazines, who will only, even if they dare to refer at all to the anti-bullshit party, they will refer to it as the anti-B party, because they will be scared to death of saying the word bullshit. And that attitude in itself is bullshit, and it's just a symptom of how how our whole society, particularly the political structure that it runs on, is completely permeated with goddamn fucking bullshit. So what I really want the party to be called is the anti-bullshit party, and maybe I'll come up with a better name sometime later, some other time. But to start with, I think that's what it really ought to be called, and I'm going to have to look it up, because maybe somebody else has already got a website called Anti-Bullshit, I'm sure. And And it's probably a fairly interesting site too. So let's go look it up now. And remember, register to vote for the anti-bull. Oh, and you will have to. Of course, you'll have to sign our petitions to get the anti-bullshit party on the ballot, because they make you have to get thousands and thousands of signatures to even get your fucking party the minimal legitimacy of even being printed on the ballot. Because it's all fucking bullshit.